I was 14, just in bed, and one night 7 beings came in, and they were wearing opalescent gowns. They were hooded. And the next thing I knew, I was flying out of my parents' farmhouse over the lake I lived by. And as I traveled, first we just kept seeing stars, and then I was in this beautiful round room, just this beautiful light that said, "The time has come to start your lessons."
The A.J. Parr Spiritual Journalist Podcast.
I'm here with Linda McCollum DeLong. She is a psychic and she has had many spiritual experiences. She's been on the other side. She's talked with spirits. She has a long-going relationship with what she calls the Council of Light and the Ascended Master Tehuti, who is also known as Thoth or Hermes. She recently published a book called Walking Between Two Worlds, The Secret Teachings of Tehuti and the Light. And today she's going to be talking not only about her experiences, but also about the lessons that she's learned. So welcome, Linda. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Throughout your life, you have had a contact with what you call the light, many near-death experiencers. Talk about the light as the supreme being or as God. How did you come in contact with it?
I was 14, just in bed, and one night my room looked like somebody turned it into a huge, like they turned lights on in my room. And 7 beings came in, and they were wearing opalescent gowns. They were hooded. And without any verbal conversation, they just made me understand telepathically, I guess, that I had to go with them. And I should have questioned them, but I didn't. And the next thing I knew, I was flying out of my parents' farmhouse over the lake I lived by. And as I traveled, first we just kept seeing stars, and then there was a void, and then like planets or something. And then all of a sudden I got scared when I got in the void because it was so dark. And I'm like, I wasn't afraid, but I am now. But then they just kind of dropped me off, and I was in this beautiful round room. I mean, there was no furniture, just this beautiful light that you should have had to wear sunglasses with. And he just looked at me and he said, "The time has come to start your lessons." And he showed me like a giant bowl. It was like a coffee table or something, but everything was moving inside of it. And the older I get, my perception is he was showing me the future or just showing me what was going to happen. But at that time, I really didn't understand it. But as time went on, I think he was showing me civilizations. And from then on, he said, "I brought you here to tell you you are a chosen one. You won't remember our lessons, but when you hear a cooing of a certain bird, I will be there." And I would just leave wherever I was at. Like if I was in bed, as life went on after I was married, but no time seemed to change. I was gone. I heard the bird, I had the lesson, and then I was back and no one said, "Where have you been?" So I guess that was what we call out of body. At that time, I didn't even know what out of body was.
Sounds like a near-death experience. When you woke up, did some of these things that the light showed you come true later?
What I saw in the bowl was just things that were moving and swirling. It's like when you're making soup, until it's done, you can't really see it all. But as I progressed and started learning and having my lessons, and now the lessons are coming really fast. In my book, I'm seeing world things that are happening. Some things have already happened.
You had been guided by Tehuti, which is the ancient name of Thoth, also known as Hermes, the founder of the Hermetic teachings.
Right.
Can you tell us about Tehuti? How did you meet him?
I didn't have language yet. My parents had just moved to a farmhouse. One night with my teddy bear and my doll, this bluish light appeared in the corner. And behind him was lots of flowers and a really pretty place. But I didn't have any language. So through telepathy, uh, he, we communicated. I said, "This is not right. I want to go home." And he said, "You signed a contract and you have a lot to do here." And so from then on, most people thought, because he didn't give me the name Thoth, he gave me Tehuti. Thoth is pretty easy to find, but Tehuti and my family wasn't educated, but they didn't have any formal education like I do. I mean, with multiple degrees. But so when I played with him, nobody else could see him, and I only saw a light. And my babysitter asked who he was, and that was the first time I knew his name. He said, "My name is Tehuti." I was 3. I told my babysitter, and she said, "Okay." But until I was approximately 40, I still couldn't find Tehuti anyplace. And I kind of give up, you know. I can feel presence. I can still see things between the light and Tehuti. For a long time, I thought they were the same thing, but they're not the same. He's like an ascended master, a guide. So as time went by, I kind of forgot about him until I was about 40, and the same babysitter was at my house because she had lost her husband. And it's on the History Channel. All of a sudden, they're talking about Tehuti. And I'm like, oh my God, he's real. So from then on, I started researching him and finding out who he was, and realized a lot of things in my life, like making decisions and things like, I don't know if it was him or not, but I never fit in with other people. I mean, nobody was mean or anything. Just I couldn't understand why they liked the music they liked. You know, it didn't make any sense. I didn't know why they read books that were so silly when there was so much to learn in the world. I mean, there was history, there was all kinds of things. And so I'm guessing Tehuti was my guide to keep looking for knowledge until I met the light. Tehuti says, when man no longer follows cosmic laws, that means they're not following the light. And when they quit following the cosmic laws of light.
What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned from Tehuti?
Truth. I think Tehuti, without me knowing it, just plain made sure I didn't get it. I partied with people that did drugs and things. I mean, marijuana was considered bad back then. You know, now we know differently. It can be, but, and I didn't drink or anything, but my favorite line was, "I'm high on life. I don't need that." So I'm guessing Tehuti was with me. And the more I go into the history of Atlantis, I think possibly we were together in Atlantis. Only because so much I learned about Atlantis is also part of Tehuti's life. Because of course he's from Atlantis.
So these 7 beings, are they the Council of Light?
Yes, they sometimes disagree. They're very, they came to me hooded. It took me several years. And finally I said, "Hey, you know, why can't you show me who you are?" And they said, "Because usually people need an image." and you don't need it anymore. And just as quickly as they came into my life as hooded beings, they became orbs. And so they're light beings. That's what I call them, the console light. And they sometimes the light will say to do something, and sometimes they'll say, no, it's not time yet. The light always wins. So, but they're, I guess, like advisors to the light, and of course to me. But all I know them as light beings. They don't have names. They don't have faces.
You've also had a long-term relationship with Archangel Michael. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about Archangel Michael and the first time you met him and how you realized it was Archangel Michael?
I really don't know exactly. It's been a long life, but it's been, I think, since I moved to Florida. So since 96 for sure. I was in my bubble and he just appeared. And my bubble is where I go. It's a safe zone that I create during meditation. Somewhere along the line, someone said, always be safe when you meditate. So I created this illusional bubble that I only see. And I invite my guides, and Michael comes, and along with my console. And Michael just appeared, and it was like, you look like an angel, but and he introduced himself as Michael. And since I know religion, but not a whole lot. Yeah, I mean, I know enough about religion that Michael's an archangel. But he always carries this sword. And sometimes he uses it almost like a neon sign, which sounds really silly, but he will put words on it like danger, be careful, and other things. He gives me messages, or he's also very um, outspoken because even if I'm talking to another guide, I have to remind Michael that it's not his turn to talk. So, yeah, which again sounds really silly because you don't tell an archangel to be quiet. But I have to remind him that, I'm talking with a Native American, my guide, or I'm talking with the consul or something. And he's usually very persistent. Sometimes he needs a couple reminders. He say, I'll come back to you, but I'm talking to somebody else first. And so that's Michael.
You've also had contact with the spirit world, and you have had afterlife communications. There are some cases that you've shared with me, including the case of Alan, who was one of your relatives, right?
Right.
Can you tell us his story briefly?
Ellen was 16, I was 4. And in my book, you'll see a little black ceramic doll. And when I was 4, Ellen liked to win prizes at a fair. So he brought me that. It was a doll I didn't have. So I thought it was pretty cool. And that was one of the last times I saw Alan. Alan was with his girlfriend at a different home. I was home when my mom got the phone call, but Alan had hung himself. And he hung himself at that time my grandparents didn't have indoor plumbing. And he hung himself in an outhouse. And so when my grandmother got home from work, she opened up the outhouse and she found Alan hanging there. And so everyone had all kinds of rumors. And but it went down as a suicide. But for some reason, Alan kept in contact with me. And so one day I just plain said, hey, what really happened? And I'm not sure how old I was, but probably at least in my teens or 20s, I don't know. And Alan said, they all think I killed myself. but I would have never done that to Grandma. He said my dad and his partner got in a fight because my dad has had an affair. And he had a child by somebody else. And Alan found out. And he told Alan he could not tell anybody. And Alan was really upset because his mother didn't have anything. They basically were pig farmers and she didn't have anything. Yet the father was always dressed in suits and everything, as it's in my book. And he said that when he saw the little girl and his father with his dad, he confronted him. And his dad said, "You're not going to ruin my career. I'm going to marry that woman. I'm going to leave your mother." And they got in a fist fight. That's when they pushed Alan in a car, drove him to my grandparents' farm. And they continued to push and shove and whatever they did. But Alan hit his head. And they thought he was dead. And so they came up with a plan to make it look like he killed himself. And his feet were actually touching the ground in the outhouse. And Grandma had to, I'm still a little girl when I heard the first story. But Alan said, "I don't know why they didn't understand the outhouse was locked from the outside. And why would I throw my driver's license away? And why would I throw the knife away your mother just gave me?" But everyone said I killed myself. And there was no way, and of course, I tried to tell people, but of course I went, it's been a long time and, we can't prove it. But I did try to tell the family, and the majority of them didn't, just thought it was me with another story. But even when I had a stroke, Alan came to me and sat on my bed and showed me 3 doors. Said, "This is the past, this is the present. You can go home, but there's more work to do." And so I stayed.
Among your guides, you've mentioned that there is a Native American. Who is he, and can you tell us how you met him?
I don't know how old I was, but I was in the upstairs bedroom, so that means my sister was born. So I had to be somewhere around 8 or 9. And I would hear the linoleum just creak, 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 because we didn't have carpeting. And we didn't have central heat back then. And every night I'd make sure the attic door was locked. And I would make sure that I was in bed. And then I would just wait. And there was a room before mine, another bedroom. And all of a sudden I would hear just those footsteps get closer and closer and closer to my bed. And I was so scared. And then I would smell a sweet smell. But then I didn't know what sage was. So years went on. And when I moved to Florida, to my surprise, the sage smell started coming again. And so I just plain said to him, "Who are you?" And it turns out that somewhere in my past life, he called himself an ancient one. And he said his tribe had been misplaced by something, a flood, I think it was. And they were moved to like the Pacific coast, as close as I can figure out. And they didn't know how to deal with the land, how to get food, how to live in that environment. And he said, one day a cloud appeared and I was on the cloud. And he said, when I got off the cloud, I was wearing like a white gown or something. And I talked with the elders, whoever, and taught them how to deal and how to make a living and how to feed their families and how to adapt to the new place. He said I took an interest in the children, teaching them, and then when whatever I came for, he said all of a sudden a cloud came and took me away. And he said, I've been searching for you for a long time. And so I asked him, I said, well, what's your tribe's name? And he actually had a tear. A lot of my visions come like a video. And he actually had a tear. And he was wearing, I guess, Native American skin or skins, animal skins. And he said, my tribe does not exist anymore. He said, our language is lost. But he said, I know in your language, John is a good name. And so call me John. And right now, I can't remember the name of the tribe, but it's in my book. I did research a tribe that kind of meets his description, and they do no longer exist. So I'm pretty sure he's from that tribe. But what he's talking about, a cloud, I have no idea. He just said I came on a cloud, and when my work was done, I left. And he said it took a long time to find me. And once he found me, he said he was sorry he scared me, but he was just trying to protect me.
During your journey, you've remembered your past lives. What have you remembered about your past lives?
As I started putting them together, in my book, I realized there are threads like being a warrior, and maybe not with a sword, but standing up for right. In one case, I was a warrior in Morocco or Ethiopia, and I was a warrior. But before it was over with, I had converted to Islam, and I was teaching children. In another life, uh, during a marriage, happened to be a famous person, but they united the holy Alsace-Lorraine and Austria, united through the marriage. And that person, the woman Maria, she actually reformed religion. She stayed very strict to her Catholic religion, but she prevented witch burning. She talked for people. She never gave up her Catholic faith, but she was able, through her politics and her power, to make changes in her country. So all through my past lives, there seems to be sacrifice, which I don't really call sacrifice in my life, but I've had some pretty high bumps to get over. And the Mayan culture plays a big role in it. The Emerald Tablets are supposed to be in South America somewhere. They were taken there by some of Tehuti's priests. And when I climb temples, it depends on what temple, I feel like I'm home. So there's threads. Most of the threads are that I'm a woman, a warrior, and a teacher. Those are the three main, and a mother. They're the three things, but I do go back from male to female depending on which life I'm in. So I do think that it was kind of an epiphany about a year ago that I think when we pass and we go home, and if we choose to come back, we write a contract. And they say we don't remember, or usually that's the main thing. Oh, I can't remember what they told me, but my life changed. And I think that our DNA is part of all of our past lives. And when it's time to wake up that part of the DNA, all of a sudden they just start winding back, and you get this, oh yeah, you know, I remember that. And you don't have any idea how you remember it. It's just part of your DNA. So that's what I think the past lives do. And then I think that my family is a soul circle that signed a joint pact when they came, because at least three of them are psychic. We all can, well, not all, but the majority of us can talk to animals. Um, let's see, we're all into environmental. One or more is into environmental things, and most people would write that off as saying, "Well, you're all family," and we are family. But the difference is, we are not blood relatives. Two of my children are adopted, and so we're not truly biological. I don't use the word adopted hardly ever, but I think we chose to come back um, to teach lessons. So that's what I think our past lives are all about. We can choose not to remember them, but I think if we choose to have an open mind, you'll see some traits in your life that you don't really understand why you remember them. The light has been coming to me since before I married, before I had my daughters. I've always had to try to balance what normal was to other people and also balance what I really knew. And when I could, I often spoke out about what I knew, but I couldn't speak too loud because they really didn't understand and it would make them angry or shut me out from having anybody to talk to. So that's what walking between two worlds is. It's learning how to be yourself, but keep the teachings that you know are true. And when you can help somebody to see the other world, especially since I've been doing readings, since a podcast I did with someone else, the biggest fear with people is that they're afraid they're sinning. You have to see that you are no different than anyone else, that everybody is the same. So walking between worlds is trying to not give up on telling people the truth, but you can't stomp it into their heads or anything like that. You have to respect theirs, but you can't say it's okay, because everything they believe is okay if it makes them happy, if it doesn't hurt anybody else. If it hurts somebody else, then you become the sinner. I don't even like the word, but you become the one that is just disappointing God or the light, because he doesn't ask anything of you except to speak truth and to help your fellow man. So that's the only time I think you can disappoint God or the light, is if you, when you're walking that fine line that I did for so long, you can't be quiet when you see bad or evil. You have to help people understand how to move over and see the good part in themselves and in the people around them. And these days, it's extremely hard. But there's always something you can do to help someone. And maybe they don't even know they're being helped. For the most thing, you don't be judgmental, but teach by example. It's just been a long time trying to figure it out myself. And it's just been the last 2 years that I've been allowed to talk about it. We have to remember that We are all part of God. We carry God's light. I don't usually use the word God, but we are part of the universal light. And no matter what religion you believe in, and even if you're an atheist, you know there's a cosmic. And what was really interesting when I was researching for the book, all of the major religions on earth talk about we're made out of clay. And then some God breathes something into us and we become life. Well, if you want to take it that way, that means God is in you, because without his breath, you wouldn't be light. But Tehuti says that we are cosmic beings. And before we became life as humans or whatever, we were breathed. The breath of the cosmic light was put into us. So people just don't get it. We are one. We all have, either, if you want to believe any religion, the light made us. Whether we want to say the cosmics or we want to talk about the clay beings that Jesus formed or God formed or Muhammad didn't do it, but Vishnu or whoever. You're more versed on this than I am. But it all goes back to, and it's in my book, a comparison of 4 or 5 ascended masters or gods that do the same thing. They create something, they put life into it. So without a light breathing into you're not here. So why you keep fighting that you got to go to church? If it makes you happy, go to church. But your body is your church if you choose it to be. It doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. It just means that you are the light. You aren't the chosen one as far as being God, but you have the chosen light in you. And you can either walk around with an empty glass complaining that your glass is empty, or you find a way to fill it up.
What type of services do you offer people? You do readings. What else do you do?
People reach out to me and they ask me all kinds of questions. All I do, if they want a reading, I don't usually charge. I do accept donations if you choose. If you choose not to, that's fine. But so far, I've talked to all 7 continents and did around 200 readings. And then some I just talked to people, so there's more than that. But if they want to talk to a loved one, I can reach out to them. And if they choose to talk, they will. They choose not to talk, they'll tell me that. They'll come as an orb and they'll basically give me a way that says, I'm not ready to talk now. And which sounds really weird, but that's exactly what they do. And then they'll also give me signs to tell people when you see something, whatever it might be, a butterfly, a penny, they'll give me clues how to know they were there. And they also, during the reading, they will give me validations, which is hard to explain. But like in one case, someone threw a spirit threw a football into the reading. And the reason they did that, when I talked to the daughter, I write things all even that don't make any sense. It was because when the daughter wanted to learn to play softball, she couldn't catch a softball. So her mother used a football until she could catch a softball. And the girl goes, oh my God. And then she told me that story. So I'm willing to do readings. I don't usually charge. If people ask, I give them my PayPal account and they do it that way. But I don't charge. It's just the light didn't charge me. So, I mean, I'm not against getting money, but the light didn't charge me. So it's hard for me to charge anybody else.
Where can people get your book?
Go to Amazon, and if you don't find it right away, just type my name in and it'll come up. And then it'll show you the two versions that it comes in.
I had the honor of writing the foreword of your book and working on the design and publication of your book in Amazon. I want to thank you, honestly, for the opportunity.
And I want to thank you for all of your help.
I also helped you write the book from the start, from scratch.
You and Ashley, my home tech, my granddaughter. If you want someone to help you write your story, AJ's very helpful, and I'm sure he can help you. It's just been a pleasure working with AJ. I mean, he has been a big guy. I even got to do a reading for him.
Pretty good. You actually told me things that I had never told anyone, so I verified that you're the real deal. Do you have a last message?
The biggest lesson that everyone needs to remember is that it's an analogy about the glass being half full and half empty. You have to take that glass and always look at it half full. If you drop it, I'm sure you can fill it back up with something by helping somebody. As far as walking between two worlds, that's been my entire life because I saw things people didn't see. But once I had the awakening, it was like I tried to explain it to people. And the more I tried to explain it, the more I ended up sending me to doctors to make me normal. And so I quit talking about it. And then even after I started my family, my husband didn't understand either. And people just started calling me the crazy lady, kind of, And I could see things, but like in my book, I allude to that often depression comes because you doubt yourself. You hear voices, you see things, but other people don't. And so you believe yourself, but because you believe yourself, they don't understand. And that's another thing they've told me. It's time to speak. The more you speak, the more others will hear you. And there are more like you.
This has been the AJ Parr Spiritual Journalist Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.